What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, we're going to talk about these Japanese men, all right? Because in my last video, where I displayed, how the Asian woman disrespects the Asian man, and how the Asian woman seeks black and white men over Asian men, and somebody in the comment section said, no offense, but we have a really good reason, right? And they commenced to telling us their reason. I was like, okay, let's explore that. Let's do a video. And because I said, since all you Asians are not the same, right? And for the edification of my people, I know y'all not the same, right? Because I'm a worldly person, so I've been there. I can tell the difference between Japanese and the Chinese. I can see the difference, right? Most people can't. They just see Chinese, all right, just like that, right? Just like people see Spanish, they say Mexican, right? And just like they see black, they just say black. And when you say white, you just be like white. That's just what everybody does, all right? Now, so for the edification of my people, we can talk about you Japanese. We did Korean a couple times, all right? And then we're going to do Japanese, all right? For everybody else, the Japanese are the ones that do the sushi. All right, even though Koreans do sushi too, and they can both argue back and forth for who really invented it first or whatnot. But for all intents and purposes, sushi, right, from the Japanese, the samurai from the Japanese, okay? That's the country where white people pretend like they was the saviors all the time, right? Japanese, anime, Japanese and black people probably have the best relationship out of all groups. I mean, and I used to live in Japan. I used to live in Japan. Listen, I know Japan. I know how the people are in Japan. I know. All right. So, and a lot of my veterans know. We used to live there. We know. And there's a lot of stuff we never even. There's things we could put on Front Street. And the thing is, black people are always on Front Street. Everything about us is plastered for the world to critique or to emulate. And I feel like if that's the case, then I have free reign as a black person who's always on the stage to put anybody else on the stage freely. And they shouldn't have no problems with it. Right? Since everybody thinks they can have free reign with us, we should have free reign with everybody else. I can talk about any individual group and y'all shit, just like if I ain't got no shit. Now, I understand that everybody got shit, right? Ain't nobody living, right? Everybody's in glass houses, basically what I'm saying, right? No one's perfect. But we all need to understand where everybody coming from and why people act the way they act. And we all need to put our stuff on the table because everybody knows about us. You know about everything about us. Everybody, the whole world knows about black people. I'm talking about Africans, African Americans. We are everywhere. But the whole world don't know about y'all because y'all done a great job hiding it, not talking about it, denying it, right? Smothering it, telling your people to be quiet about it, right? And that's one tactic. A lot of you other cultures, you guys are very quiet. You don't express your feelings. You don't express emotions. You think that's a form of weakness. And I think, as an African, that's a form of weakness you guys have because you don't express your emotions. You pin your emotions. You allow your emotions to be pent up. And that's why you're so attracted to African culture and African things because we are a manifestation of spirit. We are emotional. Everything we do has emotion in it. We're passionate. We're loud. We're not going to be quiet and tamper down and pretend like it's not happening. We're going to talk. We're going to reverberate. We're going to be loud. You're going to hear us. We're going to express. And you guys are attracted to that, even though in your own cultures, you guys do everything economically. Y'all do everything institutionally and systematically to halt all of your ability to express yourselves, and you stress yourselves out and you squeeze it as tight as you can to the point to where most of your people are suffering from mental illness and they're killing themselves. You guys are not having babies. You don't commune. Y'all got to marry the issues based off the way you guys structure yourself culturally, and you can really, all y'all can literally just make a change and stop and just do something different. And I believe that when you come close to us and y'all feel that love, that passion, that community, what it is to be human, you guys get infected with it. And y'all can't help it but incorporate that within your cultures because it brings a flavor into the cultures that you guys all participate in because it's bland and dry and restrictive to you. All right? But anyway, we're going to explore these Japanese men, these men that are not desirable, apparently, based off the Japanese woman, based off the Asian woman, right? Even though this for Japanese men could probably go for a lot of other Asian countries. Oh, and by the way, people in the West, people who are not from Japan, people who always say, hey, they're the country that got 2 nukes dropped on them. And you ever wonder why other Asian countries are not so upset that America dropped 2 nukes on Japan? As squeaky clean as Japan's perception is as safe as Japan perceivably is, and I've been to Japan, it's safe compared to here, right? Compared to our violence, because we're hyper violent. We're so violent that other violent places look safe to us, right? And as a man, of course, it's safe to me, but there's places that if you're not a man, it's really not safe, right? Like India, right? But Japan is also a place that's not safe to be a woman, right? Because the machismo of that Japanese man is on another level. You understand? Things start to make sense when you put two and two together, right? The machismo of that man, right, that Japanese man, doesn't translate outside of their Japanese woman. Meaning, a Japanese man can bully and be tough and be manly and be raw and be a caveman to that Japanese woman. And that's what he wants and expects, right? But he can't do that to anybody else outside of a movie, right? Therefore, they must maintain the level of control they got, which is that Japanese woman. But now that Japanese woman has multiple choices, just like the rest of the Asian women, they are choosing a different route, right? And oh yeah, back to Japan, y'all guys were killed hundreds of millions of other Asian people. You're like, that's what, despite your squeaky clean look right now, you guys are have participated in some of the most evil acts in humanity that have, like, transatlantic slave trade, World War I, II, and you guys, I mean, well, you part of that. Like, the shit that y'all did to the Chinese, the shit that y'all did to everybody else around you, they were probably celebrating when those nukes dropped on you. All right, and I know that, and a lot of people don't know that because of your perception, right? So I don't want to change the perception because you guys are cool, good people, and everything positive I've ever said about you is true. But y'all got dirt too, right? And it's time for everybody to know what it is that you guys do the same way y'all know what we do, right? We're not perfect, and you guys not perfect, and we need to see what it is that's not perfect about you, all right? Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Women sexually about to quickly update hot news every day in Japan.
He filmed his parents keeping his own sister locked inside their house for years. Now, that footage has become a hit in Japan. Director Tomoaki Fujino grew up admiring his older sister. She was brilliant, talented, and seemed destined for success. Then one day, she suffered a major mental breakdown and was taken away by ambulance. She was clearly suffering from schizophrenia and desperately needed help. But shockingly, their parents refused to accept reality. They came from an era in Japan when mental illness carried intense social stigma. Instead of getting her proper help, they used padlocks to keep her inside the house and left her to suffer. Tomoaki desperately tried to convince them to get her admitted, but he's just her brother. Without his parents' consent, he couldn't get her hospitalized, and this went on for many years. But through all of this, Tomoaki kept filming. Those recordings eventually became the documentary, What Should We Have Done?, which turned into an indie art house hit in Japan. But what really angered many viewers the most was the ending. After 25 years, Tomoaki finally got his sister's psychiatric treatment. After just 3 months in the hospital, she improved dramatically.
Guess what? This Japanese man right here is getting dragged all over the internet. Go ahead. Look at these two pictures right here. And I want you to take a quick little guess as of why you think in Japan this video is going viral and everybody's dragging that man on the internet. You ready? This dude is being attacked in Japan because he's publicly showing affection to his baby. You heard that? They're dogging this man because they said that's the type of behavior that's for the home. All he was doing was playing with his baby, you know, kissing his baby, grabbing its hands, hugging it, showing it affection, showing it love. And all men, did that trigger the Japanese people? You cannot make this up, man. Like, what kind of society are they running over there, bro? That they're dogging this man for, he didn't do anything inappropriate in the video. I was confused when I seen that. I was like, there's no way that this is going viral over there for the wrong reasons. How? Impossible. The dude is just showing the child the love that none of these people received when they were kids. And that's the real reason why they're all angry. They're like, oh, do that at home. Nah, y'all not doing that at home either, man. You a liar. You hate the fact that you see that that baby's being raised with love. And you hate the fact that you see a father love their child. Because guess what? Your papi, your papi never loved you. He still doesn't love you. And he's still not proud of you. Do better, Japan, because that's messed up, bro. Making fun of the father for loving his child. Crazy.
Japan is not a safe place for women and children, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Yesterday, I posted a video of a literal toddler next to a road in the heat, completely abandoned by its parents. And a lot of people want to argue saying it's completely safe in Japan to leave your child alone unattended, and this is just not true. Dangerous people exist everywhere, even in Japan. Just this year, there's finally going to be a bill introduced to create a Japanese sex offender registry. There hasn't been one before. There isn't even a requirement for background checks for people that are working in the schools. So you have predators who are working in schools. These children have no legal protections. Just last month, a woman and her 3 children were found dead with stab wounds. As a person that presents as a woman in Japan, I have been followed, I have been assaulted, I have been SA'd. Everything in the book has happened to me here. I've been drugged, I've been fucking everything in the book. Just yesterday, there was a video of a tourist who was being literally assaulted by an old man, like giving her a kiss on the cheek. Like, that's fucking weird and fucking creepy. Y'all are forgetting that children with disabilities were literally being sterilized in the 90s here in Japan. Like, shit's real, and the shit is not okay. Please stop with your idolization of Japan, because shit is literally fucked up here, just like how it is fucked up everywhere else.
This was a really petty thing to do. In 1997, a man from Japan named Oto Katayama was really unhappy with his wife Yumi. Since they had just recently had their 3rd child together, Yumi had been spending pretty much all of her time taking care of and hanging out with their kids rather than him. And since Oto really missed all the attention that she used to show him, he started to feel really jealous of his kids and really frustrated towards Yumi. As a result, Oto soon decided that he would simply just stop talking to her. Although his wife would still try to talk to him and ask him questions, he refused to reply with anything other than nods and grunts anymore. And for the next almost 20 years, despite Yumi always trying to still make conversation with him, Oto never said a single word to her. In 2017, their 18-year-old son, who had never even heard his parents have a conversation before, finally had enough and decided to contact a local TV show to try and heal Oto and Yumi's relationship. This TV show agreed to bring the couple out to the park where they had their first date, and there, Oto finally started talking to Yumi again. He explained that he had been really jealous, but had now realized that he was so grateful for everything that Yumi had done for their family. Oto then asked for Yumi's permission to be her husband again and to make up for his actions, and she ended up agreeing.
And I want y'all to know, what y'all seen Joe Jackson doing to Michael Nim in that movie, that's how Japanese parents be pushing their kids sometimes. That shit is absolutely insane. And I thought that shit was an anime until I actually went to a private school, the Southside Christian Academy. Shout out to the Southside Christian Academy. I had multiple Japanese friends that had extremely strict families on some crazy ass shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, bro.
Yesterday, I witnessed domestic violence in Japan, and nobody did anything. I was inside of a bar, and this couple starts fighting, and the man starts hitting the woman and dragging her by the hair. And I go to the bartender, I'm like, hello, like, what is happening? What, can we call the police? And the bartender was like, they come in all the time. Like, this happens every time. Like, it's just better to leave them alone. That's what he said. And I was like, how can I fucking ignore that? So obviously, I leave right away, and I go straight to the police. And the police just tell me, well, you didn't call, like, as soon as you saw it, so they're probably not there, so it'll be hard to find them. You're not even gonna go try and look? Like, I'm still in shock. How abuse gets protected everywhere. Like, the bartenders normalize it, nobody else said anything, and also the police are like, well, you didn't call the police right then and there, so.
Is she forced to quit because she exposed an abuser? 22-year-old Japanese idol Sarah Hayakawa announced that she will be leaving both the popular girls group Nogisaka 46 and the entertainment industry in August. She said, "It will be a lie if there's no regret," which made her fans speculate that she is being forced to quit. You see, in August last year, Nogisaka member Sayaka Kakehashi fell from the stage, suffering a facial fracture and breaking 4 teeth. In May this year, during a live radio broadcast, Sarah exposed that their concert director Seigo had been abusive toward the girls.
演出家の聖子さんっていう人がいるんですけどね、超ド S なんですよ。死ねとかブスとか、お前一人いなくてもいいとか言われるんですよ。冗談で言うだけよ。リハでさやかが事故ったのはお前らのせいだとか、同時得だとか言われて、怖いなと思ってライブから落ちるのが。
Seigo quickly resigned, but is Sarah being forced to quit? Or did she want to lead the group anyway and decided to take down Seigo along with her as her one last job as an idol?
Why do I see nobody else talking about this?
Perhaps it has something to do with how brutal this case is and how violent it is. But I do remember posting about this in my friend's server a few weeks ago because I could not believe that after everything had happened, after everything came out, after his daughter committed, this guy was still walking free. Here it is. Prosecutors said that while the maximum prison sentence they seek under current law is 3 years, the exact amount of time Chavez will serve remains at the judge's discretion. Why? What's up with predators protecting predators so blatantly? To read her own mother say that it just feels like my daughter's life is worth only 3 years, heart-wrenching. I remember seeing this guy's text messages of him denying it and insinuating that his daughter is a liar. Boy, oh boy, isn't it convenient that you are now admitting to it so that the charges can be dropped to incest? Interesting. It's also just Michaela's family advocating for her on social media. It's not all men, but it's always a man.
Why do I?
For those saying the Natasha dolls aren't that deep, I want you to take a closer look at this. This is what happens when anti-blackness is normalized in our communities. When you're teaching children that it's acceptable to slap, throw around, mock, or dehumanize dolls that are meant to represent black children, you're desensitizing them to the dehumanization, brutalization, and mistreatment of black children and black people as a whole. You're reinforcing the idea that black people are objects rather than human beings deserving of dignity, humanity, and respect. Watching those babies and children cry was truly heartbreaking because we're no longer talking about dolls. We're talking about real children being humiliated, exploited, and dehumanized. And unfortunately, this isn't new. The exploitation of African children has been happening for years. In 2022, BBC Africa Eye exposed a Chinese man named Luke, who was living in Malawi and filming children for personalized videos that were later sold online. Some reportedly sold up to $70 on Chinese social media platforms. What breaks my heart even more is seeing children being used to repeat colorist and degrading messages about themselves. Whether it's reinforcing the idea that lighter skin is beautiful, undermining their intelligence, or having children call themselves monsters. These messages can have a lasting impact on how children view themselves and their worth. It's hurtful, it's concerning, it's disrespectful, and above all, it's dehumanizing. Anti-blackness within Asian communities doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It shows up through stereotypes, colorism, harmful beauty standards, and the way black people are talked and portrayed. We've seen it in exploitation of African children. We've seen it in reports of Africans being denied entry into businesses. We've seen an incident where black people were compared to animals, including a museum exhibit in China displayed photos of black people next to monkeys. Comparison rooted in some of the oldest and most dehumanizing racist stereotypes. And every time these conversations come up, people would rather get defensive than address the harm itself. As an Asian woman, that's what hurts the most. Because holding our community accountable shouldn't be controversial. It should be the bare minimum. Not because I hate my community, but because I love my community enough to believe we can do better.
痴漢されたことありますか？
あります。
最近でしたか？
最近ですね。最近でても8月なんですけど。
電車内？
電車内です。
その人は何をしましたか？
座ってて、手を置いて、こうやって触ってて、みたいな。なんか、太ももを触られました。
わざとでしたか？
わざとでした。
何をしたんですか？
めっちゃイラッとしました。二度とするなよっていうのを思いつつ、すぐに立ち去りました。
もしまたされたらどうするんですか？
またされたら手を掴んで、痴漢ですって言って、警察に突き出します。
痴漢をしようかなと思っている視聴者さんに向けて何らかのメッセージありますか？
もうすごい愚かな行為なので、するべきじゃないし、悔しい思いをすると思うので、絶対しないでほしいです。 Let's see who is representing Japan at next Men's Football World Cup. Let's start with Kaishu Sano. History. Arrested just 2 years ago for allegedly conspiring with two male friends to rape a woman in a hotel. The case was later dropped after a settlement was reached, and he quickly returned to professional football. Let me introduce the coach too. Japan coach Hajime Moriyasu said at official press conference, "Personally, I'd see it as just a mistake. And because I see him like a family, I want to give him another chance." You will find him in an ad by Google Japan that was published just a week ago. Some Japanese people criticize this whole situation, but also many others say, "He already apologized, the case is over, it has nothing to do with football, so it's nonsense to bring it back here." What do you think?
What nobody tells you about Japan's bullying problem? It's not just kids being mean at school, it's way bigger. In 2022 alone, schools reported 681,948 bullying cases, and that's only the ones officially recorded. But the truth? Bullying doesn't stop at school. It happens in workplaces, on trains, even in daily life. So why is it so common? Japan has a culture of targeting the weak to assert dominance. It's subtle, insidious, and it isolates the victim. Take chikan or groping on trains. It's not just harassment, it's about control. This is the darker side of Japan's hierarchy-driven society.
The 76-year-old Japanese man stabbed his son in the back several times, saying, "I could no longer tolerate his violence toward me." The son was severely injured, but he survived. In Japan, half of all murders take place between family members. A lawyer, Masahiko Nakamura, says that those murders are caused by unhealthy relationships between family members, like parental over-interference in their children's lives, even when they're already in their 20s or 30s. He says that so many people in Japan are unaware that the familiar problems they're going through can actually be local issues. So it's always best to seek help from the third parties or the professionals. In one of my next videos, I'm gonna talk about Doku Oya.
I'm going to talk about something a lot of Asians don't like talking about. And it's because we're taught to be private in our family affairs. And I'm just that one Asian that speaks up about it. A lot of Asian households are extremely toxic, so toxic at a level of nuclear. They're so abusive. They will whoop the fuck and living shit out of you. No one talks about this. If you ever saw an Asian person growing up in high school that's very quiet, probably came from an abusive household. They're probably getting beat the fuck out of. Get beat for existing. If you didn't get beat with a fucking vacuum wire, telephone cords, broomsticks, knives thrown at you, you got thrown at by a cleaver, then you're really lucky. I see a lot of Asians now as making that shift to change things. We are not allowing the same childhood that we had within our children. A lot of us went through hell and had nobody to talk to. We go through life learning lessons the hard way.
So at that time, he had asked me this one question, and he said, "How is your relationship with your father?" I said, "It's horrible. I honestly hate him. You know, I feel like the reason why I joined a gang, the reason why I was angry, the reason I was so like violent was because of my father." But he had mentioned, "Okay, so listen to me very carefully." He said, "When you meet your father, I want you to apologize to him." And I was like, what? Excuse my language, but I was like, F that, honestly, because I didn't ask to be born. He had a responsibility to take care of me. But when I was born, you know, he beat me and he wasn't there for me. And I felt like just so angry when he asked me to apologize to him. And you know what he said was, he said, "Johnny, you're right. But because you're right, you know, that he beat you and you didn't have a good childhood, you're also miserable." And that hit me, you know, really deeply. You're miserable because when you go outside and you see fathers who do respect their children, who did raise them well, you know, you feel that pain. And he said, you know, why do people argue? Why do people fight? Why is there no peace? Because two people are right. You're right, I'm wrong. The other party thinks, no, I'm right, you're wrong, right? And then they start to fight, and then there's no peace. But when one person becomes wrong, he says, then everything drops and then they can start to heal. Peace starts to come in, and they're able to grow. So he said, even though you don't understand it, I ask that you accept what I'm saying and just move forward. So at that time, I put down everything I felt and I trusted this man, right? And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna trust myself. Let me see what he says and let me just try it out. What's the harm in trying it out? So I call my father and it's such an awkward phone call. I haven't talked to him for years. And I say, hey, Dad, it's Johnny. He's like, who? Like, it's your son. He's like, oh. And the first thing out of his mouth, I remember vividly, was, I don't have any money for you. And I was like, I got a little angry, and I don't need your money, but kind of simmered down. And I was like, Dad, I just want to talk to you. It's really urgent. I need to speak to you about something. I said, okay. So we planned to go to this pho restaurant in Alhambra. And we get there. He's sitting across from me. I'll never forget. It's awkward. There's so much tension. He's not looking me in my face. I'm looking off to the wall. But I remember vividly what the pastor told me, just move forward, just apologize. It's okay. I am your braking system, right? So I told him, Dad, I'm here today to tell you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being a bad son. I'm sorry for being a bad... Sorry. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you, that I didn't help, and I didn't live up to your standards. And then my father actually, he started crying. He said, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was a bad father. I'm sorry I didn't give you a good childhood, and I'm sorry I couldn't control my drinking, and that you had to suffer because of that. 20 years of pain, anger, frustration. It was crushed. We hugged it out. And now we have a great relationship. When I think about it, if I had never followed what the pastor said, if I never trusted him and I trusted myself, if I tried to understand and wrap my head around it, if I held my own righteousness, I would have never experienced this. He said he felt actually pretty good that I called him. And 那个天那么多年我们没讲话，我进来说你看见我说你感觉怎么样？又高兴又难过。He was sad but also happy. He was like excited but also sad, but he didn't want to show it. 那时候那个天我管你说你有什么想法？你有没有那个想法？就是为什么后强来见我？有没有那样的想法？其实我也等了很久。So he said, actually, I waited very long for that. He was like waiting for that. Yeah. 那时候我一说对不起，说那个天，让你感觉怎么样？不能再说什么了，我非常感动。He said he was at a loss for words and he was severely, extremely moved. 我再讲一下吧。因为我们文化不太一样。Because our cultures are so different. 我在韩国长大嘛。I grew up in Korea. 我的父母是比较严厉的。My parents were very strict and also very abusive. 所以我也发了一样的那种方式。So I also followed them and did the same thing to my kids. 后来我感觉不是这样的。But I realized I was wrong. 美国就是不一样嘛。America is not the same. 所以过去爸爸都是有点。我感觉我有些地方错了。He said then he realized as a father I was wrong. 我应该跟你们一样 talking， 好好讲。I should have spoke to you guys and fellowship more and had more communication, but I couldn't. 这也是我一个学习当中。So this was my life lesson.
Second, father and daughter take a bath together. This seems to be a bizarre custom. From Japan, bathing in Japan, a very common custom in itself. And in various strange bath customs. The most incomprehensible. It's women taking a bath together. On Father's Day, the daughter wants to take a bath with her father, no matter how old the daughter is. So on Father's Day in Japan, a girl who is a daughter, no matter how old you are, to welcome their father, get into the same bathtub as you. And this behavior was interpreted by the Japanese as to save valuable time and water resources. Family bathing together. Not only does it save resources and time, it allows for intimate communication. You kill a lot with one stone, except for Father's Day. Before my daughter gets married, I also want to take a bath with my father. They thought it was a farewell ceremony. Then I'll show you something even weirder.
Before Japanese women get married, they must take a bath with their father. After watching, I really understood. Everyone knows that Japan has many customs and traditional festivals that we Chinese people simply cannot understand. Even in the eyes of traditional Chinese people, Japan still seems a bit too open. Just like the Japanese customs regarding marriage, it is completely different from China. On the night before a Japanese woman gets married, she must take a bath with her father. Why is this? Friends watching the video, please give me a like and follow, and let's take a look together. It is known that men and women should not touch each other, let alone a daughter and her husband. However, in the eyes of the Japanese, the bathing ceremony on the night before marriage is particularly important and is even a consistent tradition. Its purpose is to let a daughter repay her father's upbringing on this night. During the bathing process, she will express her respect for her father from childhood to adulthood. In this joy, the daughter only needs to scrub her father's back, and nothing else will happen between the two. However, this custom also seems very strange to outsiders.
假如正值妙龄的女儿要求和父亲一起洗澡，父亲听到后会有什么样的反应呢？小日子的综艺究竟有多奇葩，你根本无法想象。薛德的导演今天提出了这么一个疑问，那就是父亲是否会同意妙龄女儿发起的共浴请求。而夺笋的节目组为了得到这个问题的答案，于是找来了神奈川县的岩崎一家做测试。更离谱的是，妈妈期间话不多说，奇葩测试正式开始。这天中午，父亲参加完公司组织的篮球比赛，刚回到家，在给父女俩准备好午餐后，妈妈就以洗衣服为由离开了现场，从而给到父女二人单独相处的机会。不过可能是因为到了，所以直接从餐桌讨论到了客厅沙发。
だってさ、昔は入ってたんだし。
昔は入ってたよ。それ昔でしょ。
なんで昔はいいんだ
っていや。
就在父亲被女儿步步紧逼到有点怀疑人生时，
父亲沐浴，12岁女儿陪同。这段70年代拍摄的真实影像，完整记录了日本普通家庭的生活状态。画面中的女儿已年满12岁，依旧与父亲亲密无间。这种共浴的习俗属实让人难以接受。70年代的日本已经成为了世界第2大经济体，不仅人均月收。
How I got sexually assaulted in Japan. So I was in a train in Japan, and trains in Japan can get very, very packed. I'm talking like this packed, you know? And I was wearing my uniform, so I was wearing a skirt, and I hear a fucking camera shutter noise underneath my skirt. And this had happened to me in the past, so I always wore shorts under my skirt. So I was like, haha, loser, you didn't get my fucking underwear. And then I thought it would be, you know, over after the pictures, right? But no. So the person starts like grabbing my ass, and keep in mind, it's so packed that I can barely breathe, right? I can't even turn to see who's doing it or who could be doing it, you know? And I was 13, and I was so uncomfortable, and I had to literally wait like 20 minutes till I got to my station for them to stop.
Is it true that Japan has a very high sexual assault rate? In 2019, there were 1.1 rape cases per 100,000 people in Japan, compared to 44 cases in the US and 82 cases in the UK. So Japan has a relatively fewer rape cases. However, Japan is notorious for train gropers. In 2018, there were 2,800 groping cases reported in Japan, and 10% of them happened on the train. It should be noted that the figures are just recognized cases. A survey showed that 48% of Japanese people have experienced being groped, but more than 90% of the victims didn't report it to the police. That's because the majority of them thought it's too much hassle and takes too much time to file a report. In Tokyo, 45% of people use the train to work or study. Rush hour trains are extremely crowded, and groping is more likely to happen, so some trains have a women-only B course. Do you have any thoughts on this issue? Please share them in the comment section.
Pedophiles in Japan are a major problem. We need to talk about this. So something I didn't realize was that CP or CSAM was 100% legal in Japan until 2014. That's right, it was completely legal until 2014. So that's disturbing, but we need to talk about JK Alley or Schoolgirl Alley in Tokyo. Basically, this is an alleyway in Tokyo where minors, girls that are actually all underage, sit along the street and offer their time to strangers for money. Men can go pay these girls to hold their hands and go for a walk, go for a cup of coffee. And keep in mind, all of these girls are legitimately under 18 years old, and they volunteer to do this. Men can even pay to go sleep in a girl's lap. And in some bars, you can take an underage girl dressed as a schoolgirl in there, pay around 35 pounds, and you can sit there with that girl of your choice for 40 minutes and have unlimited booze. In some of these cafes, the men actually pay for what's called walking dates, meaning that they take these girls out on 40-minute and hour-long walks. And it's unknown what they do during these walks, but the girls are basically allowed to do anything. It's up to them and the client. And all of this is completely legal. In 2018, it was estimated that 5,000 minors worked on this street and in these cafes. And all of these children aren't just cosplaying schoolgirls, they are actually minors who are in high school. I mean, this is really incredibly disturbing stuff. And then we can get into something called chaku arrow, which is known as a suggestively clothed soft corn. And there is no age limit in producing this material. In fact, one producer of these photos and videos who was interviewed by the BBC said, "My youngest was 6 years old. This is a quote. We filmed her in her bathing costume playing with some toys. Her mom was standing behind the camera holding her favorite toys so she would face the camera." The producer then said that the DVD he produced and sold of the 6-year-old made him around 35,000 pounds. And he said that senior high school girls make around 7,000 pounds. Now, all of this stuff is extremely incredibly disturbing. Everything that I've covered is. But it's all legal in Japan. I just wanted to spread some awareness here and tell you guys about this because I could not believe when I read it that up until 2014, CP/CSAM was completely legal in Japan. I mean, what the hell?
So I was on my way back home. I entered a train and there was one seat that was open just forever. But there were so many people who were standing in front, so I couldn't just sit down there. And there was a man who was sitting next to the open seat. He wasn't moving that much. But when I sat down, immediately, he started breathing hard, moving constantly, rubbing his nose, moving around, changing his seat position, rubbing his belly. Then suddenly, he tried to slip his hands into his pockets. Well, I've seen that before. Because I have experienced a man putting his hands in his pocket, touches my thighs. That is so triggering. But that didn't happen. But he was moving constantly. And I knew this man is trying so hard to say me. This is how I know. I've gone through this so many times. I have seen a man who tries to touch me, who attempts sexual assault constantly. And I know when they want to do it. I sense them. I know it because my brain tells me that is a danger sign. I kind of noticed that he's testing the waters of whether or not I'm that type of person who calls him out on his actions or not. So he was hesitating whether or not to touch me or not. It's really disgusting. The baseline of whether or not to sexually assault somebody is not about that person's feelings of whether or not like you're gonna hurt that person or you're gonna make them fear them or anything like that. It is whether or not I'm that type of person who's gonna call him out on his actions. That is the baseline of men's sexually assaulting somebody. Is this person okay to sexually assault? Like, that is the baseline. I've seen this in so many men, and I've never seen one person who cares about my feelings or who cares, not even my dad too. They really don't care. I mean, that is the only thing that is stopping them from sexually assaulting somebody. It is not our humanity. It is not because we are human. It is not because we are people. It is because they might be called out. The bar is far in hell. He ended up not touching me. The fact that I have somebody might feel that I have to feel lucky that this person was trying to touch me, but he didn't, and I should feel lucky about this is already a problem too. This is so bad. This is so bad. I feel disgusting. SA is really common in this country, and the judges continuously try to normalize this, that women are object. women, if you don't touch, you're missing out because you're not gonna be found guilty, so go touch type of way. That is how the judges is like here. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm constantly triggered to go use the train every single day. I have to look back when I have to come home every single day. The moment that I reach my home, that is when I just feel the relief. And when I'm out, I'm stressed constantly. This is bad.
The Japanese government called them comfort women. The United Nations called it sexual slavery. And the women who survived it call it something that doesn't even have a clean translation. The women who survived it were mostly Korean, mostly poor, and mostly taken between the ages of 11 and 22. If the Imperial Japanese military established a base, a government-run brothel would follow. This was policy, not accident. Girls were definitely recruited through deception. They were told that they were going to be working in factories or have some type of a domestic job. One survivor testified at the age of 13, a car arrived in her village, an extraordinary sight. She climbed in and she didn't come back for years. In 1996, UN Special Reporter Radhika Ramaswamy had released a detailed report around all of this that is still publicly available to this day. Her conclusion was this was a clear case of sexual slavery under international law. The Japanese government denied it for decades. Some politicians deny it still to this day. At the exact same time, from 1942 to 1945, the United States was running its own detention system. 120,000 Japanese Americans were forced into camps. And according to research published by Densho, the largest Japanese American internment camp history, women inside those camps were also not safe. 3 rapes were reported alone in the first month of the Tanforan camp opening alone. Most went unreported, and women who spoke up about it were publicly shamed. Do you see it yet? Different institutions, different justifications, and different victims. However, it is still the same exact pattern. The pattern is simple to see. Women lose their legal protections as soon as they enter a state detention system. And afterward, the same silence is always enforced. Part 4 is going to be the hardest to talk about. It's the hardest because it's something that's happening right now in present day, in 2025 and 2026, at a detention center in Texas. And it has a name, Blue Butterfly Zones. Follow if you enjoy hearing history that you weren't told in school. And of course, be sure to share this with somebody else who needs to learn more about our shared history.
Our film is called Black Box Diaries. It's my personal story of sexual violence that happened in Japan. And it's not just about sexual violence, but also power corruption. So our film has been screened over 57 countries, but not yet in Japan. I feel that I can't go back to Japan anymore after getting nomination. But again, nomination is such a big support to recognize our survivors' voice matters, and so it's such a empowering moment for us to stand here tonight. So I had to speak up about what happened to me, and as a journalist, I had to investigate my own rape case because the man I was accusing was a very powerful man who was connected to ex-Prime Minister Abe. So there's still power corruption, I would say. Now there is a petition going
asking for Japanese theaters and distributors to release the film in Japan from France. So everyone is now speaking up to be able to release the film in Japan, and it's such amazing support that other audience who have seen the film other parts of the world are supporting, coming together.
How can people watch the documentary if they want to?
Here in UK, it's on BBC iPlayer. Arigato. Thank you. Arigato.
This is God's punishment to Japan. Nuclear accidents, plane crashes, earthquakes, tsunamis. For such a small country, Japan seems to have a lot more disasters than everyone else. But a lot of people online find it hard to have sympathy for them. Just recently, a massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake shook the island and killed dozens of people. But the biggest reaction on X and other social medias have been of mockery and celebration. This is because despite how sad these current events are, it is not even comparable to the decades of devastation that Japan has released onto the world. And the worst part is that even to this day, they still deny it all. Japan killed millions of people. They did things that even the Germans found to be too barbaric. Like in the city of Nanking in China, Japan forced every single woman and child to do things for their soldiers' gratification. And they made the brothers and fathers of these women watch. Or just look up Unit 731 because what they did was far too awful to even talk about on here. And yet to this day, 97% of Japanese people still deny that any of this happened. They don't even teach about it in their history classes. At least the Germans owned up to what they did.
There are 3 creepy things that happen in Japan, and most tourists never notice. 1. Chikan. Unwanted touching, usually on packed trains. It's so common. Many women ride women-only train during rush hour. Police urge victims to report, but the shame culture often keeps it silent. 2. Butsukari. Ever felt someone slam into you on purpose in a crowd? That's butsukari. They pretend it's an accident, shoulder check you hard, then vanish into the morning rush like ghosts in suits. 3. Kasuhara. Customer harassment, verbal abuse, power tripping over small things. Think screaming at baristas for the wrong straw or threatening convenience store clerks. Japan looks polite, but under the surface, even manners can be weaponized.
This Japanese woman lawmaker was laughed at for proposing a bill to protect teen girls from porn exploitation.
高校生、現役高校生、アダルトビデオ出演解禁問題、これを何とか阻止する、こうした議員立法を成立させたいというふうに思っております。
この立法措置を行わなければいけない。その内容、議論の状況、これをしっかり政府としても見守った上で、政府として対応を考えていきたいと考えます。
これは私ちょっと今日驚きました。やっぱり政府は対応しなくてはいけないという認識があったのに、今日質疑をしてみればそれが後退しているわけです。これ総理重く受け止めていただきたいというふうに、少しちょっと踏みとどまったかなというふうに今の答弁を聞いて思いました。笑い事じゃないですよ、皆さん。重要な問題だと思います。
I hate to break it to you, but people who talk about how safe Japan is, that is propaganda. Because safe for whom, exactly? People are already very familiar with the fact that a lot of high school girls get groped on the train, but ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been such a visible increase in femicides. Femicide means that a woman was targeted because she is a woman. It's important that we don't shy away from using this kind of terminology to describe these cases so that we can actually pinpoint what the social problem is. For example, in 2021 on the Odakyu line, there was a man who wanted to purposefully attack women who looked happy. He ended up injuring 10 passengers, some of which I believe were men, but his motivations were very, very clear. In the same year, a homeless woman who was sleeping at the bus stop was also targeted. She was attacked by a man who was holding a plastic bag filled with water bottles and rocks. She was 60 years old, and at the time that she was discovered, she only had 8 yen in her pocket. And the reason was jamadatta, which means she was in the way. Her attacker essentially called her an eyesore. Both of these incidents happened in Tokyo in supposedly safe areas. And even though this was not officially labeled to be a femicide, I consider it to be. My favorite public figure and openly genderqueer person, Ryucheru, decided to take their own life a couple years ago. Even though she is the one who took matters into her own hands at the end, the fact that Japanese society is not safe for trans women to exist happily and healthily makes this a femicide for me. And I understand other countries have it worse, but that's not the point. Other countries don't have the same kind of propaganda that Japan has. Even in your anime fantasy land, women are not safe. And it would be nice if we could actually have these conversations without everyone in my comment section just telling me to mind my business, even though I'm Japanese.
Japan has executed a man by hanging in the country's first case of capital punishment since 2022. Takaraho Shiraishi, or the Twitter killer, strangled and dismembered 9 people, mostly young women, in 2017 after contacting them on Twitter. His victims had posted about having suicidal thoughts on the platform before being lured into Takahiro's apartment. He told them he could help them die, even in some cases, claiming he would kill himself alongside them. Japan now has 105 people on death row, and prisoners aren't informed of their execution until the morning of their hanging.
This police chief is begging this man for forgiveness after being kept on death row for 50 years. In Japan, Iwao Hakamata has been acquitted of a mass murder charge 58 years after his initial arrest. Hakamata, who is now 88, spent nearly 50 years on death row for a crime he did not commit. The event in question happened in 1966, when Hakamata's employer and his family were found stabbed to death in the rubble of a house fire in Tokyo. Police accused Hakamata of murdering the family, and after a violent interrogation by police for 264 hours, he was eventually coerced into a confession. After years of remaining on death row, in 2014, Hakamata was finally released, but his conviction has just now finally been removed. Now, after all this time, the chief of police has formally paid a visit to Hakamata and his family to apologize.
袴田巌さん、秀子さんにおかれましては、逮捕から申し訳ありませんでした。
Hakamata and his family don't plan on filing a case against the department, but appreciate their apology and simply want to move on.
I pray all of the billionaires who exploit the lower class fucking die. And they get licked down, put in the ground, dug up, and then fucking told to die again. Bitch ass fuck. Fuck is you talking about? Amen.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.